Hey there, back in my spot again today by the creek. Um, just wanted to talk a little bit about the Taurus Full Moon that we'll be having tomorrow morning. Here in the eastern, western hemisphere, I guess. Then, um, yeah, it's definitely a really powerful moon. The full moon is sitting right next to Uranus, um, which is just so potent in and of itself. I mean, just that. Uranus is really this bringer of so much change and so much, and very rapid, very lightning strike sort of change with the way that it comes in. And, as opposed to, say, Pluto change or transformation, which can be more of this like long, grueling, intense process of death and rebirth. Uranus change comes in, strikes very quick, and usually you can feel it coming. The Uranus is often associated with lightning bolts and with a thunderstorm. You can sort of see it coming, you can feel it building, but you can never predict when a lightning bolt is going to strike or where it's going to strike, right? And so that's more of the quality of change that's associated with Uranus. But so that capacity, that capability for change, for that type of change, is very present with this full moon. But also very curious is that the full moon is in Taurus, right? And Taurus is the antithesis of change. Taurus is about calmness, stability, groundedness, moving slow. It's associated with the symbol of the earth. The earth creates change only over a very long period of time. And so when you combine these two forces, there's this very, almost conflicting energies. And there's a few different ways that it could play out for you. If it's change that gets in really deep, or just going more in the stability route. I'm not sure if that last part really helped, but I'm just sort of feeling into how that might play out, and I'm not really getting anything, but it's just really interesting to see those two energies together simultaneously, right? And so then opposite the moon is, of course, the sun, because it's a full moon, and there we have Venus close approaching the sun in retrograde, so conjunct the sun. And that when she makes her exact conjunction with the sun, which I think is on the 28th, that's the midway point of the Venus retrograde cycle, and that's also the end of the previous Venus cycle and the beginning of the next, right? So then this is the balsamic phase, if you will, of this particular Venus cycle, right? So it's the last dissolution, it's the last letting go, releasing of what this Venus cycle has been about. And I made a post on Venus retrograde that might help clarify a little bit more about what the Venus retrograde cycle actually entails. But so this conjunction that we're approaching, is the end of one Venus cycle and the beginning of another. And so it's really clearing the space for the new one to begin, and so allowing whatever dissolution needs to take place in our modes of relating, in our value systems, in our relationship to money, resources, things of that nature, allowing how that's looked for us over the past 10 months to a year, allowing that to dissolve for the new our new cycle with that, our new cycle with Venus to take place. And then what's really interesting about all of this is that the Sun, Venus conjunction, and the Moon, Uranus conjunction are very, very tightly square the nodes of the Moon, right? And the nodes of the Moon point towards, a karmic path, an individual karmic journey for one's life, right? And that it's squaring them shows that the energies that are sort of present in everything that I just talked about they might present some sort of conflict with, what we perceive our karmic journey to be. And so there might be some kinks that need to be worked out with that, some reorganizing, but how what we're sort of receiving around this time of the full moon, around this time of, the Venus-Sun conjunction, the midpoint of that retrograde cycle, how we're receiving these things might potentially be in conflict with what we perceive our karmic path to be. But that's not necessarily the case. It's just very different, and so it can just take some thinking and reorganizing into how that, how those energies want to come into greater alignment for us. And so I think that's all I have for what's involved in this full moon. There's a few other things that are going on, taking place, particularly with Jupiter preparing to move into Sagittarius. But I think that might best be saved for another time. So, all right, thanks so much. Many blessings.